Hello and welcome to Geek Chic, created for you because intelligent conversation never goes out of style. This is the home for business brain candy. On Geek Chic, we invite a subject matter expert in to give us their experience, their knowledge, and a very different view of a subject that could have really significant impact to your business. This podcast is brought to you from Sales Geek Essex in partnership with DMB Films, the home for professional podcast filming. Links to all of this will be in our About session. This episode of Cerebral Sweetness is all about Amazon, and for this we have Adrian Meakin, who is our Amazon geek. Now, he does something very, very, very different to the rest of us. He purely and simply coaches people on Amazon. I'm going to get him to talk about it because he is far more qualified than I am. So talk to me about how you became the Amazon geek.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It was kind of accident. I got into e-commerce about 20 years ago, but very specifically marketplace e-commerce. So I'm not a kind of Shopify, WooCommerce. I don't really know a great deal about websites.
Okay.
What I do know about is marketplaces. So I had a break in my life where I could reset, blank piece of paper. What do I want to do now? And I've always fancied selling online. And I got into eBay, and I bought into a course, £75 DVD course from something called the Wholesale Business Forums. I was just looking on it, I found it, and there was this guy called Adrian who was peddling just a cheap DVD, but it had page after page after page of people who bought it and loved it. And I actually set up my business, the Ink Squid, on the back of this £75 DVD, and I built it up from started off at home, then moved into a little kind of rented office, and then in the building where we were, there were progressively bigger offices, and I kind of leapfrogged from one to the other as I grew. And eventually got a big unit, 2,000 square foot unit, and I grew a compatible ink cartridge brand called the Ink Squid. And grew it to a point where about 4.5 years ago I got bought out by somebody fairly big. But yeah, it all started on eBay when Amazon was still selling books.
Right.
This was right at the very beginning, and this was when eBay was enormous and Amazon was, just a bookseller. And then of course Amazon pivoted and everything changed, and eBay has kind of declined while Amazon has rocketed. So yeah, it all started back then, nearly 20 years ago. So I've got a lot of experience in how eBay works, how Amazon works, and I myself, when I sold the Ink Squid, it put me in a position where I could say, right, well, what do I want to do now? And whereas before it was eBay, second time around it was Amazon. So I developed a brand, found an opportunity, and finding new opportunities is one of the things that I teach my clients. How to find these kind of little pockets of opportunity on Amazon to find new products and new businesses, and it kind of grew from there. I very quickly built it up. It got quite big quite fast, and then first of all friends started saying, well, how have you done that? And my first couple of people that I helped were both friends. And then I thought, well, I can start charging for this, so I started charging for it. And then I got the call from Sales Geek and I became a geek, and here we are now.
You haven't looked.
I haven't looked. The rest is history.
We need a thing with a geek string or something like that. I don't know what it is. So what kind of people do you work with? So talk me through how you help, how and who you help.
Okay, so they broadly break down into three types. People who already sell on Amazon. Most people kind of get into Amazon without really knowing what they're doing. They can either be, scratching the surface because they're underperforming, or at worst, they can be on the verge of being shut down because they're breaking rules that they didn't even know existed. So I kind of I fill in the gaps because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I've come across businesses and I've worked with people who are convinced that they're absolutely smashing it, but then when you point out that they're really just kind of scratching the surface and what the potential is, some of the growth stories we've had are phenomenal, hundreds and hundreds of percent
Wow.
in very short periods of time. So yeah, people who don't know what they don't know, so I fill in the gaps and kind of guide them the right way. And the second type are generally manufacturers who traditionally have got to market through wholesalers, distributors, retailers, and they've never really wanted to go straight to the end user because it's not their bag.
Yeah.
And then they realise Amazon is an amazing way to do that, because within the Amazon infrastructure, you've got this thing called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. And what it allows you to do, whether you are a small brand or a big brand or a manufacturer, is send your products into Amazon and then they deal with everything. And you can do that globally. That's one of the really exciting things about Amazon. So all of a sudden, manufacturers that have no real expertise in getting straight to the end user can use the Amazon infrastructure to do that. And in fact, when I started the Ink Squid nearly 20 years ago, the factory that I bought all my cartridges from, which was something like the second biggest in the world, at the time that's all they did. They just supplied people like me and retailers, online retailers. When I sold the Ink Squid, that same factory was my biggest competition on Amazon.
Really? Oh, wow.
They registered a brand, they tried to keep it under the radar.
Yeah.
But yeah, they pivoted from being 100% wholesale to being, the wholesale became about 5% of their turnover.
Wow.
They were one of the biggest retailers of ink cartridges in the world. And me and other people were buying ink cartridges from them to sell on Amazon and competing against them with their own brand.
No, that's bonkers.
Oh, horrible. But you're seeing this now. More and more manufacturers are using the Amazon infrastructure to get to the end user. And then the third type, and these are the most fun and have the least baggage. These are people that want to have a side hustle. And they can be students, they can be businesses, people who like the idea of having something on Amazon, but they just have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
And the great thing about those is that the first two types I do with have baggage, they have a product already.
Yeah.
And they're kind of hamstrung by how good the opportunity is on Amazon for that product. But if you've got a blank piece of paper, you can immediately rule out all the problem stuff.
Yeah.
So, clothing. Oh my God, return rates 60%. Because people buy the one they think they're going to fit into, the one above, the one below, and then they send two of them back.
Yeah.
You've got seasonality, you've got tastes, you've got sizing problems, minimum order quantities. The fact that you've got to buy them in different variations and sizes, it's just an absolute minefield. So
avoid clothing,
electronics,
right?
Different legislation in different countries, voltages, plugs, failure rates, health and safety. If you want to do electronics in America, the insurance bill is just crazy. So electronics I would stay clear of. Things that are too big, things that are too complicated, too heavy, things that melt, things that expire, things that put you in your body or on your body. If you're looking for something to sell on Amazon and you've got a blank piece of paper, why make life difficult?
Yeah.
You've got 1 billion, 2 billion potential opportunities. Why make life difficult? You want something simple. That people buy and they don't have to email you and find out how it works. You don't want something that's got bags of legislation on it. So they're the most fun. And we've got some really interesting ones in the pipeline at the moment.
Sounds so. My stepson.
Yes.
He's one of them who's at university at the moment, and he's learning with you.
And we're having a lot of fun. Just this week, we think needs a little bit more kind of validation, but we think we found his product. So
I'm looking forward to hearing from him at the weekend. So, what are the most common mistakes apart from the products? Going with the product that's in those categories, which you wouldn't that you would avoid if you could. What are the most common mistakes, and how do people get into trouble on Amazon? Because like I said, there's a huge amount of legislation, isn't there? Rules that you don't know. And
it is, Amazon, compared to, Etsy or even eBay, Amazon is just a Goliath. They've got thousands of policies, the rules change every day. I've come across some really, really big businesses who, for the sake of a competitor taking a picture of something that goes in their box and sending it to Amazon, they would be shut down.
Wow.
even little things, you've probably seen it yourself, where you bought something on Amazon, it comes with a little card and it's got a 5-star picture on it, and it says, if you like what we've supplied you, please leave us a nice review. If you don't, please get in contact with us. Sounds perfectly okay. Absolutely against Amazon's rules.
Really?
Yeah. You can say you can't put the 5 stars. Not allowed to do that.
Right, because you're lending. Yeah.
Because you are influencing it. You're trying to kind of guide them down the path of 5 stars. The same by saying, if you like it, leave a review. If you don't, talk to us. You kind of guiding them away from leaving a bad review.
Yeah.
So Amazon. So I was dealing with somebody this year. 15-20 million pound turnover in the sports niche. And they were sending out boxes, and when he took the product out of the box, the whole back of the box inside was this kind of 5-star, the Amazon smile, leave us a nice review or get in touch. If a competitor had snapped that, sent it to Amazon, you get 1 chance, and they'll put you on a watch list forever.
Wow.
If you do it twice, you're gone. And also, the owner of the business was getting his wife to buy stuff from them and leave reviews when they were launching new products. Again, it's absolutely massive no-no. Review manipulation is one of the easiest and fastest ways to get shut down on Amazon.
Wow.
And they don't care how big you are. People think, oh, you got a 50 million pound turnover seller on Amazon. Amazon won't do anything. They know if they yank them, somebody will just fill the gap.
Yeah. It's
not like they're losing business. It's just somebody else will get the order. So yeah, review manipulation, massive. Product is the biggest one. Product. I deal with people. Every day I come across them where they're doing all right on Amazon, even though they're doing everything wrong. They've got one
succeeding in spite of themselves.
If you've got a checklist, they tick every box. Really, really bad image, 1 image, nothing else, no information about the product, a 4-word title, no bullet points, no description, no video, not on the Amazon Prime registry, not doing pay-per-click, literally ticking every box, and they're still doing all right because they've got a good product.
Yeah.
Conversely, I can teach somebody all the tricks in the book, but if you've got a bad product, you don't win on Amazon anymore. So product is a big one. That involves research. There's a lot of amazing software that supports Amazon businesses, and a big part of that is product research and keyword research, making sure you're finding out what keywords, what search terms people are putting into Amazon when they're looking for a particular product, and then making sure you've got those keywords integrated into your listing in the front and the back end, so that your listing can actually appear.
Wow.
I've got a client at the moment where they've been selling on Amazon for years, and when you look at all the search terms that Amazon customers use to find their kind of product, they weren't even indexed. It was impossible for them to appear in the results. Never mind appearing but not on page 1. They just couldn't appear in the results.
Wow.
So that's a big one. Images, that's another massive mistake people make. They think that Amazon is like a website or like social media, and they just put fancy images in. Images on Amazon are all about information.
Okay.
Think about it. Think about the way you shop on Amazon.
Yeah.
So you type something in, up comes the results page.
Yeah.
First thing is really, really important. It's got to be really high quality.
Yep.
It's got to jump off the page and catch your eye. But once you're in the listing, you're in there for about 7 seconds, typically.
Wow.
And in that 7 seconds, you've got questions in your head.
Yep.
Things like, how big is it? Because the main image has no sense of scale.
Yeah, because it's sitting there on its own, right?
It's a white background image.
Yeah.
So, if you're selling something that has an ambiguous size, you might be selling that. But I've done it with a Rubik's Cube. We bought what we thought was a Rubik's Cube for my son's Christmas present a couple of years ago. It's come, it's a keychain one.
It's like a Temu classic, that one.
Yeah, because there's no way.
Not dimensional. Everything is 2-dimensional.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you what, when people send stuff back on Amazon and when they leave bad reviews, it all comes under one banner. Not what I was expecting.
Right, okay.
So they go onto Amazon with a preconceived idea of what they're buying.
Yes.
They then overlay that on what they're seeing.
Yes.
So if you've just got one image, there's no way to convey how big that is. So that's a big one. So your second image is all about your features and your benefits. And you've got to know, it's your job as a seller to know what people are thinking when they land on that page.
Right.
How big is it? Will it do what I want it to do? What's it made of? How thick is it? Will it work in my environment? What type of plug is it? All these things, you've got to know what those questions are. You've got to answer them.
So your FAQs have got to be done way ahead of the...
Oh God, yeah. I was with a photographer over the road this morning who's looking to get into Amazon. And the problem is, the process starts long before the photographer gets the product. You've got to know what you're trying to tell people about your product, because when you as a customer land on that page, if you don't get the answers to those questions in the first 5 or 6 seconds, you've gone.
Yeah.
You're going to find another one. Now, they don't always buy, in fact, they very rarely buy just off the photographs, but they get about 3/4 of the way there. Then they look for reinforcement.
Yeah.
Then they read the bullet points, then they look at the video, they look at the A+ content, then they buy. But if you don't have, after the review, and the reviews as well, yeah, absolutely. But if you don't get that crucial information across in those images, and the rule I say, the golden rule is, assume Amazon customers can't read.
Yeah.
Assume all they do is look at the images.
Oh, okay.
Can you get to the point where they buy just from the images? So that's a massive, images is a whole kind of,
it sounds like that. It's almost like this is complete witchery, and this is like a real art form.
Oh my God, it's...
And this is so big and so broad and so deep.
Oh, it's enormous. And it's changing all the time.
Wow.
Amazon have brought in Rufus now, which is this AI, have you heard of it?
No!
So especially if you go on mobile, you can say Ask Rufus, and it's an AI integration into Amazon, and it learns from the listing, it learns from questions that people put in.
That's focused.
It's awful at the moment, by the way.
Right.
You have to get a question, it's really funny, it just comes out with all kinds of answers.
I'm going to ask Rufus.
Yeah, Ask Rufus. So that's developing all the time. I was actually in Amazon's head office in London yesterday.
Yeah.
For an AI session with them on what's changing, and even things like wording in images now, Amazon reads it. And they also look for correlation between what's in your images and what you're saying in the product.
Wow.
So if you've got a product, for example, that's targeted at, teenage girls, but your images show, older boys, then that'll create a mismatch, and you just won't get around for it. So it's so involved. So that's a big one, images. Big mistake, again, not getting brand registry. So this is all to do with the way the Amazon catalog works. For every unique product, there is one page for it on Amazon. And then all the people selling that product compete on that listing to win control of the buy box, which is the bit in the right where you click buy now.
Oh, okay.
So eBay, you've got 50 people selling the same product, you've got 50 listings.
Yeah. All
with their own pictures and wording, whatever. On Amazon, whoever owns the rights to that. So if you're, for example, selling that, what kind of camera is that?
Cobra?
A Cobra.
Yeah.
Is it Cobra?
Oh no,
Olympus.
Canon.
Olympus. Olympus camera, right. So if you wanted to sell that model of camera on Amazon, you would have to find that product page on Amazon first, with all its pictures and its content. You don't have any control over that because Olympus will. And then you've got to add your offer to it. You say, right, I'm selling that and this is my price. And then you will compete against everyone else that's selling that camera, and only one person will win control of that buy box. And whoever controls the buy box, when the customer lands on the page and clicks buy now, they win the order. Now, what that means is if you're selling a product that isn't branded, so you buy some, I don't know, a neck massager from a factory in China.
Yes.
You know, the kind of thing with a little ball.
Yeah.
Okay. And you start selling that on Amazon, and you do really well.
Yeah.
You build it up, and you get lots of orders, and you've got good ranking positions.
Yeah.
And then I find the same product in the same factory. I'm not allowed to create my own product page for that.
It has to go on yours.
So I've got to add my offer to your page.
No.
Yeah. So now we are now competing on the page, and Amazon does it for a good reason, because that drives the price down.
I was going to say, what's the thought behind that? Because then everything's a commodity, but we know full well that we're working on, there's no relationship there. It's literally just
an unbranded product. So once that product page exists, anybody selling that exact same product not only can add their offer to your page and undercut you, they have to, not allowed not to. So then it becomes, right, okay, well now, so what we do, we approach the factory and we get them to put our trademark on that product. Now this is why when you look for things like those, you see pretty much the same product with just with different brands on it. So that's half the battle, getting yourself protected, because that means once you've got the trademark, a couple £100, get the factory to put it on your product, free, they'll do it for nothing. Then you apply to the Amazon brand registry, and the registry will say, right, show us your branded product, and you show them pictures, and they go, right, yeah, that's a brand. Now you're on the brand registry. Now you can stop people adding their offer to your listing. So not doing that is a huge mistake.
Right, so that's how you combat it.
That's how you combat it.
Brand registry.
By getting branded. Not only that though, you don't just, this leads into another mistake people make.
Yeah.
Copycat products.
Yes, because that's a massive Chinese thing. Like,
Well, no, what I mean by that is, that was badly described. So what I mean is, you're looking for an opportunity to sell something on Amazon.
Yep.
You see something that's selling well.
Yes.
So you say, I'll sell that as well. So
Right.
you go and find a factory to make that exact same product.
Yep.
You create a listing, you put it on Amazon. Now I'm a customer, I come along and land on the results page and I see lots of sellers with good reviews and nice images, social proof in the reviews, and then I see your listing, which is brand new, doesn't have any reviews. Why would I buy yours if yours is just the same as all the others?
It's only a good price, isn't it?
Exactly. So now you're trying to undercut people who've been doing it longer and have bigger pockets than you. So if price is your only differentiating point, you're stuffed right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So the principle for the people with a blank piece of paper is find something that's selling on Amazon that people don't like.
Right.
So if you can find a product that has sales and there's software that tells us how many units are being sold,
Yeah.
even though people don't like the product,
They're still selling. They're still buying.
still buying it, even though people are not happy with it.
Yeah.
Find out why they're not happy with it.
Yeah.
Put those faults right. Get the factory to make it for you. Stamp it with your brand. Create a world-class listing on Amazon. Now you've got a chance because now people are going to land on the results page. They're going to see all the ones that have problems and they can read that in the reviews.
Yeah.
Then they're going to see your listing, which absolutely shoves down the throat what you've done to make it better than the competition. All those things that people are complaining about that you fix are now in all the images, and the features and the bullets and the video and the A+ content. Now you've got a chance of taking market share. And not only that, you can charge more for it.
Nice.
Because you've got a differentiated product.
So even in Amazon, differentiation is everything.
Everything.
Because we see that in business, like people bang on about what's your USP. Actually, there isn't many USPs, but differentiation is the way that you set yourself apart. I didn't realise it did the same sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
And that's why the people with a blank piece of paper have an advantage over the people that already have a product, unless they can adapt it.
Yes, so adaptation works.
I do deal with manufacturers who have the facility to, look at the market, see where the flaws might be in their products, and then correct it. But a lot of manufacturers don't have that. They'll just want to sell what they've got, and they're on Amazon already, and then they're hamstrung by that product. Whereas if you've got a blank piece of paper, you can mould your exact perfect product. And differentiation, huge. So that's a big one. What else? What else do people do wrong? They don't understand Amazon, so they break rules. They hijack other people's listings.
How do you get? Because you get into a lot of trouble, right?
Yeah, IP infringement is a big one.
Right.
And if you don't understand the way Amazon works, and you don't understand that catalogue, you can accidentally infringe on somebody else's IP, and that will get you into really big trouble really quickly. It happens a lot with compatible products. So you've made something that fits somebody else's product.
Right.
So you've made a grill that goes with an air fryer.
Right.
And you're trying to sell it on the back of the name of the air fryer.
Oh, okay.
You can do that, but you've got to do it in the right way.
Right.
And also it can open you up to then bullying you. So again, that would come under one of the things that I would say, blank piece of paper. You probably don't want to make life hard for yourself. Compliance.
Right.
Amazon has reams and reams of compliance for different products in different countries. You've got EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, which is all to do with paying for the disposal of the packaging of the product, which is sweeping through Europe. GPSR, that's coming. What date is it today?
It's the 11th. Next 11.
2 days' time, the new wave of GPSR hits Amazon. So you've got to have a responsible person if you want to sell in Europe. That has to be a company based in Europe. There's just loads and loads and loads of it. And people, I've got a client at the moment who he was trying to get his brand registered for the UK, and it kept getting knocked back, and Amazon wouldn't say why. And he's a chemical company. They make kind of cleaning things and sprays for pet deodorants. And it turned out that without him knowing, Amazon was taking his UK content, and there's a tool called the Build International Listings tool, which automatically translates it and puts it onto the other marketplaces in Europe. And it so happened that most of his products that were allowed in the UK aren't allowed in Poland or Germany because they've got a particular chemical that they don't want. So, so he got his account shut down, suspended in Poland and Germany without him even realising it, and that stopped him registering his brand. So stuff like that. There's just so many.
Wow. So compliance heavy then.
Compliance.
But again, that's when you have this huge machine.
Oh yeah.
And across different marketplaces, different laws, different areas, that it just becomes more and more more complex. But you know, with the FBAs, much more simple because you don't have to have that infrastructure.
That's right, yeah. I mean, you still need to, Amazon puts the onus on you to make sure that your product is compliant.
Yeah.
And God help you if you try and put something on there that, God, if you put something up for sale, and you see this occasion in the news where, you know, it'll hit the headlines that a particular product has, you know, it shouldn't have been on Amazon. And it's so bad Amazon for allowing it to be sold. I mean, you know, a good half of what's sold on Amazon isn't Amazon's own products. It's owned by third parties.
So this is something. So I don't buy on Amazon, but then and I talk to people and I say, but there's so many small businesses on Amazon. Yeah. So you is it about 50% now?
Nobody really knows, but we think it's about 50-50.
Wow.
So when you actually can tell when you go onto an Amazon listing, that buy box on the right, it will say sold by, dispatch. It actually says dispatched by on top and then sold by. And there's 3 possible combinations.
Right.
Sold by Amazon, dispatched by Amazon. So Amazon has actually bought that inventory from Olympus.
Yep.
They own it. They've got it in their fulfillment centres. So if you buy it, it belongs to them, and they ship it. Second combination.
Yep.
Sold by Lisa Co. Dispatched by Amazon.
Right.
So it's your inventory that you own.
Yep.
But you sent it into Amazon, and when somebody buys, they send it out through FBA.
Yep.
Third one. Sold by Lisa Co. Dispatched by Lisa Co.
Right.
So you've got a box of.
So that's how you can tell whether it's a small business or a.
Well, it's how you can tell it's Amazon or not.
It's Amazon or not Amazon.
Because you know that could be sold by Apple.
Yeah.
So so it can be anybody. So there's no way of knowing necessarily how big it is. And one of the things I teach is that if somebody lands on your listing, so let's say you had your you developed a product to sell on Amazon. If I land on your listing and I can tell that you're not Apple, then something's going wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's no excuse for it. It's just photographs. And you can get world-class photography, especially with AI and all the tools that go with it now. You can get really, really amazing photography done for not a great deal of money. And photography feeds everything. The images are so important because people can't pick it up and play with it.
Yes.
All they can do is look at the images. So it's absolutely vital that your images are world class and not snapped on an iPhone as good as they are.
Yeah.
You know, proper product photography. So that's another one that people fall foul on.
So why is Amazon such a great opportunity? What is it?
So for me, it's the ability to scale.
Right.
And it's the ability to compete internationally. So what I mean by that is when I had the Ink Squib, I mentioned already, we started off in a tiny little, started off at home. Then I went into a little office, probably no bigger than this bit here. Then I moved into a slightly bigger one and took on my first member of staff. And as I grew, I needed more and more space because we were shipping out ink cartridges. So we needed places to store the ink cartridges, pick them, pack them, send them out, deal with all the customer service, the accounts, all that kind of stuff. And eventually I got it to the point where we had a whole big warehouse and the whole downstairs was racking full of boxes of ink cartridges. So as I scaled, the business had to scale with me. I had to take on more people, have more space, have more infrastructure. And also, whilst we sold outside of the UK, it was only in a very specific circumstance. So we sold a lot to people in America. But it was always people that bought the printer in the UK.
Ah, I remember you telling me about this.
And they take it with them.
UK, yeah.
Because like DVDs, the chips are regionalised on printer cartridges.
Right.
If you take a printer, a UK printer to America, the printer model's the same, it looks identical, the cartridges are physically the same, but the chips are coded differently. So a US printer cartridge won't work in a UK printer and vice versa. So we get people who take the printer to America, they buy the local ink cartridges over there, and then they don't work. And then they find out that they're regionalised. So they go on the internet, they find us in the UK, and we ship to America. Likewise, if you buy your printer in America and then emigrate to the UK, you're stuck with a printer that takes American cartridges. So we used to buy in the American versions from our manufacturer in China. And we had to stock them. What we could never do was sell American cartridges to American people with American printers. Because why would you? If you're in New York and you need cartridges, you're not going to wait for them to come from the UK, so you buy them in the US. Amazon changes that.
Right.
So I sell I've got my own brands on Amazon, and I sell them all over Europe.
Yeah.
And I've had them translated, my listings are translated into the different languages. But my products are distributed, so the way it works, so I'll have to treat them separately because of Brexit. So I have products that are made in China and they're shipped into the UK. And what happens is they come in, they hit one fulfillment centre to start with, and then Amazon automatically, free of charge, distributes my stock around the network in the UK. So there are about 20 fulfillment centres in the UK. And after about a month, my stock is evenly distributed. So what happens is, you're up in Aberdeen and you want one of my products, you can find it on Amazon and you can get it next day because it's at a fulfillment centre already down the road. Now the same happens in Europe. I do what's called pan-European FBA. So I have a second load of inventory that goes into Germany and it hits one fulfillment centre in Germany, but then it gets distributed around the whole network in Europe, 6 countries. So after about 6-8 weeks, my inventory is evenly distributed around Europe. So you're now in Rome, shopping on Amazon.it in Italian, looking for my product. The listing's been translated. Guess what? You can get it next day because it's already down the road.
Wow.
So I'm now competing on a level footing with foreign sellers in multiple countries where I could never do that before because of the delivery time. Amazon changes all that. So not only can you scale, because as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you don't need bigger warehouses.
No,
because you're sending it all. I don't even see my products anymore.
Wow.
They get made in China, they get sent straight into Amazon.
Bonkers.
And the only thing restricting how big I am is how much inventory I've got. It's nothing to do with my warehouse or the staff, so I don't have any. So it's
so that opens the world up, doesn't it?
It means one person. I mean, I've got a couple of VAs in 2 in Pakistan and 1 in India that do various jobs for me. My accounts are all automated because the software that supports Amazon Business is incredible now. But I don't have any staff. I don't have any warehouse. I don't have any overheads. It all ticks along while we're doing this now. The sales are rolling in. Amazon deals with all the returns, the refunds. If they try and deliver one of my products and the person's out and it has to be re-delivered, I don't even hear about it. They do all the customer service. The last team, when I had the ink squid, I had a lady working for me, an office manager, who spent about half of her day dealing with customers on emails and accounts and stuff like that. The last email I dealt with on my Amazon account, and it turns over hundreds of thousands of pounds, was in March. And we're in December.
That is bonkers. So there are business owners out there, entrepreneurs out there everywhere going,
I know.
Oh, hang on a minute. I remember when you first stood up in front of all of the geeks.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the sales directors in one room, and you told them what Amazon did, and we all sat there and went, why are we doing this? that's a whole lot easier. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's an art form.
Oh, yeah.
You know and learn and understand.
And Amazon can be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
They are 100% customer centric and about 1% seller centric. So they very, very much look after the customer. They don't look after the seller.
It's the same with eBay actually, because I used to have an eBay shop. So very much the same sort of thing. It's like you just give it to them.
It's amazing. When eBay was king and there was no competition, eBay treated its sellers like muck.
Yes.
As soon as Amazon came along, that changed, and eBay's all of a sudden very seller friendly.
Right.
And I'd love to see, as much as my kind of business life revolves around Amazon, I'd love to see some serious competition to
Do you think there might be a kind of renaissance, or?
Well, in America, Walmart is building up nicely because they've got a huge brick and mortar infrastructure.
Right.
And they've got their own platform that's got, fulfilled by Walmart, so they're snapping at Amazon's heels. They're still only, 10, 12% of the market.
Right.
But yeah, Amazon needs some competition
needs some competition. Talking about competition, there are some disruptors in the marketplace now. The Temus, the Sheins, the AliExpress. Are they a threat? I mean, does this change anything?
I think it does. And Amazon recently have actually launched Amazon Haul, which has really upset sellers because Amazon Haul is their own China-based version of Shein and Temu.
Oh, right.
So there's a separate section. It's mobile only, by the way, but it's a separate section of the Amazon website on mobile where you can get stuff much cheaper, and it's shipped directly from Chinese factories directly into the UK and the US. So you can't actually, as a UK seller, I don't qualify for it because I'm not a Chinese factory. So that's really upset people.
Right.
But the whole basis of Temu, Shein, AliExpress is de minimis, which is the levels change from country to country. But basically, if the value of a product is under a certain amount, then you don't pay duty on it. And if it's under a lower amount, you don't pay VAT either.
Right.
So in the UK, I think it's what is it? It's 1, 3. Yeah, under the UK. In the UK, if you order something on Temu, Shein, and it's under £135, then there are no duties involved. And if it's under £35, there's no VAT. So that gives the Chinese a big advantage over UK sellers because UK sellers have to pay, when they bring in a bulk of it, they've got to pay duty on it, and then VAT is involved. In America, it's slightly different.
Right.
So in America, it's under $800. But what it's done, I mean, you've seen how Temu and Shein have blown up. That's taken away a lot of business from American and UK businesses and in Europe. So the EU is already kind of tabling changes to de minimis and that will basically wipe out, or it'll force Temu and Shein to completely change the business model. And I don't think Trump is going to be shining in that either when he comes in. I think he's got his eyes on them.
Interesting. So it does change. Do you think it does? It's starting to change the landscape because people are gearing up against, like when you've got such a huge entity like Amazon, that's when disruption happens, right?
Very much, and it's only taken 2 or 3 years for Temu and Shein to really. I mean, the people I was with somebody over the road this morning, this photographer, and the lady that works with him. The way she shops is she finds it on Amazon, and then she goes on takes a picture of it, finds it on Temu or Shein, orders it. She's got to wait a week, maybe 10 days. When it arrives, it's a knockoff. It's cheap and nasty. It's probably going to fall to bits. Might even be counterfeit, but some people are happy to wait and they don't mind it being a knockoff. My daughter, actually, when we went on holiday, my daughter bought 2 bikinis on there, and they looked amazing when they arrived, and they fell to bits in about 3 days. They went see-through first.
Oh gosh!
That's a father. I was very pleased. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of other things about are they counterfeit? Are they the right standard? I particularly wouldn't buy anything electronic on Temu and Shein because the standards and the quality control just isn't there. But I think personally, I think it's days of number because of this change in the tax regime that's coming.
Interesting. So, are there seems to be. Are there any Amazon myths? What are the common myths that people believe about Amazon?
I think something I hear every now and then, although less often now, is I don't buy off Amazon because I don't want to put money in their pockets.
Yes, that's a big thing I hear.
Yeah, and I think people misunderstand Amazon. They think that everything that's sold on Amazon is owned by Amazon, and it just isn't. We think it's about 50-50, but if you're not buying on Amazon, then there's a lot of local businesses that could be suffering. And if you really want to be kind of picky, when you buy something, just look in that buy box, and if it says sold by Amazon, don't buy it. Look for one that's sold by anybody else, really.
Anybody.
Yeah, and I think the other myth, and this is grounded in truth actually, is that if I'm a business and I create a listing on Amazon, I can be doing really, really well, but then Amazon's going to swoop in and take over my listing.
Right.
And it is a possibility, but that's born out of ignorance, and that's to do with the brand registry. So I'll give you an example. My oldest friend from school, I helped him build a sports-related business. It was to do with darts. And I kind of left him, he went off and ran it, and I didn't really kind of get involved in the running of it. And then he rang me up one day and he said one of his main sellers suddenly stopped dead, and it was a dartboard. And he was basically, he'd sourced these dartboards from, I think it was in Lithuania, and he was selling dozens and dozens and dozens of them a day. It was a really big seller for him. And then his sales stopped.
Just overnight?
Just overnight. And what had happened was that somebody had discovered that listing and seen how well it was doing, and the software that tells you this. They'd found the factory in Lithuania. They'd gone and bought a load of them, enough to give them buying power to undercut in. And because of the catalogue rule, that product already existed on Amazon, so he's not allowed to create, this new guy can't create a new listing.
Yeah, has to go on yours.
Has to go on the existing one, undercut my friend, won control of the buying box. So the listing is still selling, people are still buying these dartboards, but he's not getting the order, the other guy's getting the order.
Jeez.
Have I guess who that other guy was?
Who?
Amazon.
No!
So Amazon had, now in Amazon's defence, it could have been anybody. Because everybody has access to the data, it just happened to be Amazon. Now, he could have protected against it. He already had his trademark, he had it registered with the Intellectual Property Office, he had his trademark number.
Yeah.
If he'd have applied to the Amazon brand registry, that's free. So now you become a brand on Amazon. He then gives his logo to the factory in Lithuania and asks them to put it on his product, which they'll do for nothing. So now he's got a trademark product. And that changes everything, because Amazon can still see that he's making sales. They could still go to the factory and buy the dartboard. They just couldn't buy his branded version. And they couldn't add their offer to his listing, because his listing is for the branded version. So they could start a new listing for an Amazon branded dartboard.
Yeah.
But now they're starting from scratch. They haven't got his sales history, his reviews, his organic positions. So that changes everything. So one of the big mistakes I see, and I saw it in lockdown actually with face masks. And I was looking for some face masks for my family, and I found this amazing listing, great photography, brilliant product, really nicely done listing. And I was about to buy it, and then all the recent reviews were shockers, and they all said variations of not what was in the listing, terrible quality, falling to bits. And what had happened was the guy that had sourced these masks had done a really good job on the listing, but he'd not protected it. He'd not brand registered. And then somebody with a knockoff product has found his listing, added their offer to his listing, undercut him. So now they win control of the buying box. So you come along as a customer and land on that listing seeing an amazing product. You click buy now, you're not getting his product, you're getting the knockoff version. So now he arrives and you're really upset because it's nothing like what's in the photographs. You leave bad reviews, whole thing tanks. So yeah, brand registry, trademarking, protection, it's all part of it.
Amazing. Well, that sounds an absolutely brilliant thing to know. Lots of things to know, but then a whole load of stuff that just makes it sound really, really complicated. But that's why you exist, right?
Yeah, if it was easy, I wouldn't have a job.
Absolutely. And are there lots of people that do what you do?
I don't know many. There are. What you tend to find is people who have maybe built up a business, they've sold it, they're twiddling their thumbs and they think, right, I'll teach people how to do it now. And the problem with that is Amazon changes every week.
Right, so you have to be, it's like being a head of employment law, right?
Exactly, yeah, you've got to be doing it. In my opinion, and this is, I always laugh because Amazon themselves approach me 2 or 3 times a year to ask me if I want to go on their coaching program.
Oh, okay. They have a coaching program.
Yeah. You pay for it. You pay a big chunk of money, and you pay a commission on your sales.
Right.
And the problem is the people that deliver it don't sell. And 99% of the problems that you have with Amazon is with Amazon. Oh, it can. Yeah.
There's a vested interest there.
Yeah,
right?
it can be. Yeah. So Amazon can be challenging. It's not a smooth ride. It can be really, really frustrating. And
when it works.
When it works, it's amazing. So, as in any business, it's not perfect. But, yeah, and there are a lot of kind of so-called gurus online who are peddling old information because they're not in the game. I'm in the game, I work alongside people, I'm exposed to it every single day of the week. And the one thing I would say, I think the third golden rule, is when I sold the ink squid, I got good money for it. But if I'd known at the beginning what I knew by the end, it would have been a hell of a lot more money. And there's a kind of a myth in business that you've got to, and I hear it in networking groups, you've got to learn at the coalface. You've got to make mistakes and learn from them. Absolute twaddle.
Not when it comes to Amazon, no.
Not when it comes to Amazon. If you can find somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, if you can find somebody that can help you avoid those mistakes and get to the end and do it properly quicker, then whatever you pay them is going to be a drop in the ocean compared to the difference it makes in the long run. It's so whatever you do, if you're going to sell on Amazon, don't try and wing it, don't trial and error it. Find somebody who's been there and done it to teach you how to do it properly.
Don't try and reinvent the wheel.
Exactly, why would you?
No, definitely. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Adrian. We always finish off these things with a couple of fluffy questions.
Okay. Well, you're not warning me about it.
I did put it in the...
did you? I've seen it.
It was right at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I had to read all the way down.
Oops.
And the first one is, what is your best piece of advice that you can give someone based on your expertise?
Best piece of advice. I suppose, and this is going to sound kind of self-promoting, as I've just said, if you, whether you sell on Amazon, whether you have a product that you want to sell on Amazon, or whether you just want to sell something on Amazon, find somebody that knows what they're doing and make sure that you use their knowledge to avoid all of the pitfalls and get to the end result as smoothly as possible. Because at best, if you don't do that, at best you're going to underperform, and at worst you're going to get shut down.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's good advice, right?
Yeah.
And the second one to finish everything off is we love this brain candy. We love to learn stuff. Who is your brain candy hero? Who's your go-to when it comes for inspiration or a life affirmation? Who's your brain candy superhero?
I've got a few, I think. I'm watching at the moment a series with Bill Gates on AI.
Oh, wow.
I think it's called, from memory, What Comes Next. He's just a genius. He's really firmly in bed with OpenAI and ChatGPT and all of that. I'm quite geeky in terms of science.
Yeah.
I love science. I love Stephen Hawking.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like Bill Bryson, although he's kind of more of a thinking man's science. A brief history of time, and what's the Bill Bryson one called? Can't remember now.
I think I've got it on my thingy list.
yeah.
It's a Bill Bryson thing.
What else? I love the 4-Hour Work Week,
Right.
which is a book. I think it's Tim Ferriss, and I've read a lot of business books in the past. And most of them, you come out with 2 or 3 nuggets. That one's just full of them, one on every page. And that fits in the whole kind of 4-hour work week, kind of outsourcing and having somebody do the work for you. That fits in really nicely with Amazon. So I'd recommend that book to anybody, 4-Hour Work Week.
Brilliant. Well, Adrian, thank you so much. I'm sure everybody out there has listened to this, learned a huge amount. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Enjoy it.
Thank you for listening and watching our Geek Chic, our podcast created for you because intelligent conversation never goes out of style. Your chosen place for business brain candy. We hope you have enjoyed this conversation. Please remember to give us a thumbs up, a follow, a like, a share, subscribe, all of those things. Tell all of your friends, comment, give us feedback, and we hope you've enjoyed our little production. It is brought to you in conjunction with Sales Geek Essex and DMB Films, the home for professional podcast filming. This is Lisa from Sales Geek, wishing you all wisdom and wellness. Until next time.